Okay, just because over the last one that we did, we're saying that even though Nevuah was bottle, they still had Baskel, and they said let's just go back 2 lines. We're on Menachesam and Beis, like right before the white lines. It said it's basically go back. It says that there was a Baskel, and everyone had said that there was someone that the Shechem was ready to go on, except that the generation was ready, and everyone turned to Hillel Azakim. When Hillel Azakim was nifta, when he died, they were masked with him. This chassid, this Anav, Hamida Shal Ezra is one of the Tmidim Ezra. V'shuv Pamacheres, and there was another time that the Hesped, that the Baskel came into effect. How you Vesubim Ba'aliyah by B'Yavin Nitlam Baskel Ben Shemaim Amalan Yesh V'chem Adam. Echad Sheroy Shetishu Shechina Alav Ella She'im Dar Zakana. The same lashon by Hillel. No, saying B'Shmuel Katan. This time everyone looked at Shmuel Katan. Ukeshemei Sespidu He Anav He Chased Hamida Shel Hillel. V'hafu Ayman B'Shas Mitzasei Shimon. So and Shmuel Katan was maspid was misnabed by his B'Shas Patira. That he's saying Shimon v'Yishmael l'charba. These two tzaddikim, Shimon Gamliel and Yishmael Kain Gadol, are going to be killed by his sword. And their friends are going to be killed. The Misa Mishnah is talking about this. So and the rest of the Am is going to be looted. Like the rest of the Am is going to be taken advantage of. Akan Sagin Asidim Lemese Al Ama, and a lot of bad things are going to happen to the Klal Yisrael. He honored even Rabbi Yehuda ben Baba was one of the Hasari Lugamachas. They wanted to be maspid on him. This lashon of Hay Chassid Hay Anav, they lost that on the time. In other words, that opportunity was not taken advantage of because you can't be maspid on Hugamachas because it looks like it's going to be Mari B'Machas. If the king kills someone and you're maspid them, that's a sign of defiance to the king. So the Gemara is not quoting the Mishnah that when the Beis Hamikdash was batal, the Shamir worm was ceased to exist or was lost. What's the Shamir? Shabai Bana Shleima as Beis Hamikdash. The Shamir, this worm was used in the making of the Beis Hamikdash. Shenema v'habayis v'banais Evan Shleima Masa Nivna. It has to be that the Beis Hamikdash was built through bones, through bricks, stones. I think I was trying to say bricks and stones at the same time, so I ended with bones. They were complete stones. So Advarim Keksavim. That's the Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says it's simple. The way it is, that's what it means, and that they weren't able to be altered with any sort of metal at all. Rechami says that's not possible. These all were very heavy stones, very large stones, and they were filed with a metal file. So you see that there were kalim used, metal kalim used. What is this lashon that there was no noise in the Beis Hamikdash when they were being built? In other words, there was no sounds of the stones being worked on. So according to Nehemiah, that says that they did work on the stones. He said that they worked on them outside the Har Bayis. And once they were all ready and the proper measurements and the proper smoothness, then they were brought into the Har Bayis and they were used in the Beis Hamikdash. Amar Rebbe, Niran Divrei Rabbi Yehuda ba'avnei mikdash. He holds like Rabbi Yehuda by the Beis Hamikdash that it wasn't used that it wasn't altered and fixed with metal, but it was fixed with the shamir. The Divrei Nechemiah ba'avnei beisai, and Rabbi Nechemiah that he fixed it outside and he brought it inside. He's talking about his palace. Rabbi Nechemiah shamir l'mayasa. Rabbi Nechemiah, what did they bring the shamir for? Now, where do you know that Bechlal was a Shamir? So first we have our Mishnah that says that the Shamir was batal, which is Mashal that had to do with the Beis Hamikdash. But more importantly, the 7th parak in Gittin says a whole story that Shlomo Melech went to go and use Ashmedai to find the Shamir. So what was the whole point of it? Nechemi says you're allowed to use metal just outside the outside the Har Bayis. What was the point of the Shamir? So he needs it for the following like from the following limit of the Bryce. In other words, the Bryce is going to explain to us what the Shemir is used for. Avanim alalu in kaisin, talking about the aphid, the avanim of the aphid. In kaisin ala b'diyah, you can't just be written in ink. In other words, we learned already that all the aphid had had all the shvatim written on it. It's machlekes in what order, but it can't be written in ink. It has to be engraved. The ain misartin, and it can't be engraved. You can't chisel it with an izama, with a chisel. It has to be complete stone. So how are you going to engrave something without missing any of the item? If I'm going to engrave in a stone on my name, then it's going to whatever the definition of an engraving is that the place where is missing the material of that stone is the ksiva. Ella, what are you going to do? You wrote it in ink. And the shamir traced itself over the diyai, and then the stone cracked on its own, and we're going to see in a second. A fig that dries out from the heat and it cracks. There's no fig missing over here. It just splits open a little bit. But the way is the same, assuming that the juice doesn't get evaporated. But the atzmamashis, it's the same. There's no. If a shamir went over an esrog, it wouldn't be a concern of plastic. That's the idea. It's not missing from the fruit end. And in the valley, and also the valley sometimes it becomes cracked because of the cold. It's not missing any dirt. It just moves away, and now there's a hole in the ground, but nothing is missing from the metzia. So it's not a chasaron of the. You're not ignoring the pasuk of the milaisim. That has to be complete stones. We're going to learn a little about the shamir. It's mamish like a barley, like a kernel of barley. Now it was created I don't. They didn't ask this, but they said no. Everything was created Misheshes Me'Bereshis. What's a chiddush?
It's made between Ben Hashmashas.
Right, that's what I was going to say. So they bring it down. That's what it means, but it's not mashna from the words. Misheshes Me'Bereshis never. Everything was made Misheshes Me'Bereshis. But it's one of the 10 things that were made Ben Hashmashas, and those things were like mamish paladika things, and this is one of them. In kol davar kasher yachal amad b'fanah, and nothing hard can withstand in front of it. If it goes on anything hard, it splits open. So how do you keep such a thing? Wherever it goes, it just destroys. It just becomes, everything breaks. So karchen aisai bisfeigen shotzema, you wrap it in wool, so it can't destroy, it can't do something, it can't break something that's soft. Manichan aisai beitni shel avar melea sube sa'ira, and you put it in a tube of lead to protect it, and you fill it with bran. I'm assuming that it could eat. I'm not. I guess that's the at home care instructions for a shamir worm. Amar Rav Ami, Mishachar Mikdash Rishon. Yeah. Mishachar Mikdash Rishon. Bak Shira Paradna. This special silk was bought. It was Levana and white glass. We said the white glass was made from the sands of Naphtali, I believe, or one of the Shvatim brings down. I think it was Naphtali. Not done. Was it done? No, it wasn't done. I think it was done. Okay, whatever. But Tanya Namihachi Baiter Mishachar Mikdash Rishon Bata Shir Veranda Zbukas Levana V'Rechev Barzla and steel chariots. V'yesh Ayim Avyayin Karush Haba Mishiner, and or also jellied wine that like gels. It's very thick. That comes from this place of shit. The shiner hadoinu ke'igla dveila. It looks so thick, like a cake of figs. The noifes tufim. The Mishnah says that noifes tufim is bad. My noifes tufim. Amarav soilus shetafa agabi nafa. Soilus flour that is so thick in a good way that it doesn't go down in the sieve in the sieve. In the sifter. The diamond isa shenilaisha. It looks like it has the texture of a dough that's already needed. That's the right word, with honey and oil. The Levi Amar Shtei Kikarais and it bakes betana v'toivches ubais ad shemagias zulazu. And lady saying is referring to these rolls that I guess the flour is so rich and so thick that when it expands in the heat in the oven, you put on one side of the oven, the other side of the oven, and it expands and it meets in the middle. Rabbi Shub and Levi Amar Zed Dvash Haba Minatzifia. It comes from a mountain. Dvash comes from a very high place. My mashal. Where do you see that dvash from a high place has episode cheshivas? If Sheshes learns this pasuk in Devarim, Kama the Nasan the Brayasa v'shaitim b'roimi alma. It's like these bees that are fly up and they go to the heights of the world. And Ma'asen duvsha mizbei tura, and they fly around and they bring honey from the vegetation of the mountains. Tan hasam kol anitzak. So we're just another random fact about honey. Kol anitzak tar. If I'm pouring, I have a thing here. I'm going to pour. I'm not going to actually pour because it's going to be a problem. But if I pour seltzer into a cup, so if this is tar, which is not, it's v'cheskas tama. But if I pour it into a cup that's tamei, or keli that's tamei, or into liquids that's tamei, then it is not. The rest of the can is not tamei. Chutz midvash zifim v'atzapichim. Except for dvash zifim, this very thick. There's two types of very thick dvash that because when I pull back, the honey goes back into the jar. So the whole time that it's connected, that goes back. That makes everything else tamei. So the vatzapichim is that they mix the beeswax into the honey. That's why it's very thick. So the Gemara asks, "My zifim, what's zifim?" Dvash is a mezayfim by. It's dvash. It's so thick, the lashon of ziyuf, that you can forge it. In other words, you can add other materials into the wine, and no one's going to notice because it's so zaft. It's so thick. It's so thick. It's from its place. It's a place of zifim. Zif v'talas b'belayis. Three cities, and one of them is Zif. A similar machlekes in the name of why something is called mezoyev. Amar Rabbi Yechanan Devash Mezayfim. I'm sorry. These people were talking to Shah, and they presented to Shah that they could turn over David, and it wasn't true. So my zifim, what does it mean that the zifim came? They stam talk. They're not honest. So they're just they're talking shtusim. They're talking mezuyif. Mezuyif is a forge. They were talking shtusim. From the place because it's zif v'talan uvlais. Fine. The same machlekes, completely separate in yanim. Right. What does this mean in the Mishnah? Elu b'nei adam shehem aminim mekadosh baruch. These are the chavod that believe in Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The Tanya beleza agadu aimer. This is a very interesting madrega. It's very hard for us to understand. Like people have 401ks and they're planning life insurance and putting away for chasanas. So it's very. I'm not sure how to apply this to the way we live. I mean, the Baal Shem Tov was known that he did not go to sleep with money in his pocket. That there's a ma'aseh that one time he couldn't sleep and he went into his pocket and he found the ruble in his back. That was the story, right? So that's a very high madriga for our generation to understand that you go into the bank, you go to sleep, everything is completely empty, and tomorrow Hashem's going to give you a new. But this is what they call mekat ne'emana. Notice this is takabato and achnami. Notice the Mishnah is saying that from the time of the Mashiach that the Beis Midrash was bato was faru. What are we talking about over here? Where does it say Mechat Ne'emana? Where does it say Anshe Yamana? Yeah. There's no more Anshe Yamana. So you see, I guess the Baal Shem Tov was an exception, but for the rest of us, it makes a lot of sense that we're not at the Madrega because that Madrega was taken away after Churban Abayis. Okay, we should be zeichet to get there again. But anyway, a person should not live his life for this. I mean, I'm not anyone's financial advisor. I don't think that that's a good idea. Well, what is it supposed to mean? Who is going to baz? Who's going to deplete liyam katanis? Mi garam letzadikim sheyizbazbeis shulchanam asalave. What's going to cause that tzaddikim's shulchan is going to be depleted, going to be a little bit smaller than it should have been. The kindness of them that they didn't believe in Kadosh Baruch Hu, again, some kanech, some chesaron and emuna, that's going to take away from this chal. Rav Amar, he teaches the pasuk in a different gang. Elu katne b'nei. These are the children, the young children of the Risham of the Eden. Why? That they're going to be made Yosher and be mevazvez. They're going to rip up and destroy the din of their fathers. Asad lavi. Why? I remember the fun of it. They can say Kadosh Baruch Hu, if you're going to come to punish them later, why are you going to? Why do you have to knock out the teeth? In other words, why am I sitting here? The kid who died early because of his father's sins. So he's saying, I'm sitting. Why do you have to take me away from? Why do you have to take me away from this world early if you're going to come to punish my father anyway? So Hashem, and this taina causes that these Gesheva go get off the hook on some level. Amar Rabbi Elazar bar Yevarechia El Mali Tfilas Shel David how you call yourself. If not for the tefillah that David Melech said, everyone would be selling literally the word stains, because that means they sell like very cheap items that nobody wants to handle because it leaves residue on their clothing. Shneimar, Shisa Hashem Moira Lahem. He's beseeching Hashem that we should become Moirim. We should be we started trading in animal fats and disgusting dyes and lowly products. We're trading nursing homes and real estate. You want to go here? Towards that. Another member by the same Amir even though David Melech davened and was that Klal Yisrael as a whole should have parnasa and berevach, but the Talmidei Chachamim they wouldn't be Zoicha, and they would still be two Talmidei Chacham in one talis would be learning Torah, because they would be so broke they'd have to both wear one, literally one, like a talis isn't like a davening talis over there. The talis usually is like a shirt. Shnama Hashem Shemati Shemacha Yiresi Hashem Palecha B'Kerev Shanim Chayehu I'll take a B'Kerev Shanim Ella B'Kirev Shanaim, with the closest of two. So you see that he's davening regarding that this shouldn't be two people together, and the Talmidei Chacham should also have pronounced it. Amar v'lo bar Yevarechia Shnei Talmidei Chacham hamahalkim b'derech name divrei Torah ru'uyin lisaref be'esh. Two Talmidei Chacham that travel together and they don't learn together, they don't learn amongst each other, they're right to be destroyed by fire. Shneimar v'hi heima holchem holoch v'yidaber. This is talking about Eliyahu Navi and his Talmud. I want to say Elisha, but I'm not 100% sure. And it says that what? And it says it says that they were walking and talking and learning. So time So the reason why the Rechav Eish didn't consume them is because they were talking and learning. Had they not been talking and learning, they would have been consumed by this Rechav Eish. It just stood there. The Rechav Eish was there to take Eliyahu Navi up to Shemayim. He didn't have a misa like everybody else did. So that's why that Rechav was there. But had they not been learning, it would have destroyed them. Two Talmidei Chacham live in the city and they're not able to work together with halacha together. One dies and one goes to the other. This is the passage that we had a few times in Makkos talking about a goyel hadam, and it says Lana Shama Retzeach Asher Yitzchak Asher Eyuk B'vli Das and Be'ein Das Elotayra Shenemar Nidmu Ami B'vli Das. Obviously, it's talking about Pashup Shai, the song that he just didn't know that he was there, and that's why he killed him without intent to kill. But we're saying with Dashing the Pasuk B'vli Das that he's with his friend B'vli Das, and that's referring to two Talmidei Chacham that don't have Torah amongst them, and they don't deal with Torah together, and they don't come out to Psak Halacha. And the whole town gets riled up. So therefore, one of them is Yitzchak, and the first other one is Lanus. And at the end of the pasuk, Nidma Ami Mivli Das, we know that later on in the pasuk it says you forgot Hashem's Torah and whatever, invite her. So you see, Rudas is talking about the Torah also. Amar Yehuda, if someone learns Torah in a tzekvetch situation, tefillah nishmas, he has a special say after Shema when it comes to tefillah. Shemaman, the am b'tzion yeshiv b'Yerushalayim. Don't you have to cry. Hashem's going to give you right away what you need. And Hashem is going to give you a little bit of bread and a little bit of water. So you see that if you learn in that matzav, that's when you get answered. They also, you're able to, after 120, they get to be, they're seated next to the Ziv Shechina. You're going to be able to see your teacher, there's no mamash no mechitza between them and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it won't be cloaked from you, your master, your teacher. So the Ger says a little different than the Mishnah, but basically Bishua says, there's no day that doesn't have a klala. Every day gets worse and worse. No, it's not that every day has its own klala only. Every day is compounded. In the morning it says, who's going to give us the evening? And at night it's going to say, who's going to give you in the morning? No, you're always waiting for the next thing to come because you're so bitzar. So the question is, hi biker, which biker do you want to come? In other words, which biker at night are you catching for? If you're going to say the biker tomorrow, I can't wait for tomorrow to come. Who says tomorrow's going to be better? You're having a miserable night. Who said tomorrow's going to be better? Ella the Chalif. It must be the one that happened this morning. Now, in this morning, it's not a stira. It's not a kasha that said it's maybe
one last night.
The one last night also, not tonight, right? So then it's not a riot. But they said it's normal to say I want tonight because I want to sleep and not deal with anything. So it makes sense that they want tonight. They assume that the night comes more calm. But to say that the morning should be more calm than the night, that makes no sense. The Ella Alma Amai what's the world standing on? In other words, you're having the Hakta day after day after day. How are we functioning? On this on the kedusha of Valentine, which is right after Asher, we say kedusha, but we break it up and we say the pasuk and in Aramaic. That's called, right. I don't know how to say that here, but take my word for it. In Valentine, we say parts of kedusha and we say that pasuk afterwards, and we say Aramaic afterwards. That's considered kedusha de sidra, and Heshmei Rabbah. After I got it, they say when they used to come to shul, they didn't really learn much during the week. They didn't have a chance. They were working the whole day. They didn't have lights that we could sit here at 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and learn with ease. They after nightfall they were done. So they worked the whole day, learned and went to sleep at night. And Cham Shabbos, where they were able to learn a little bit more, and then they said a kaddish after the learning, and that was the kaddish that sustained them. Shenema Eretz a fasei kamay Eiffel. It's a land that's dark and it's a tremendous darkness. There's no sidarim. But the sidarim, this lashon the sidarim, which refers to this kedusha after Ashrei, that's going to save him from the dark. Tahara bitla tam bereich, ma'isa bitla sharman dagan. That's what we said in the Mishnah. I think that's what we said in the Mishnah. Maybe it's another person in the Mishnah. Fine. Okay, so we had this already that this is the fallout from the lack of tahara and the lack of ma'isas. Avuna ashkach temarta de chinunisa. He found a very geshmaka fat date. Shakla karcha b'sudrei. He wrapped it up in his handkerchief. Asa Rabba b'rei. He found his son Rabba. So Rav Huna found the date, and then he met his son Rabba. Amalei, Rabba said to his father, "Merchina reicha dechanunisa. I smell you have a kishmaka date on you. Amalei b'ni tahara yesh b'cha. I see that you're able to smell it. Must be that you have tahara, because tahara took away the smell, and you have tahara. Then you're able to latch onto you're able to experience that the fatness of the fruit. Yahaba Niale. So he gave it to him. He said, you smelled it, you get it. And the Hachi also Abba Berei. Now Abba, the son of Rav Huna of Rabba, so right, you have three generations of here. So Abba, the grandson, came and he saw his father and his grandfather. Shakli Yav Niale. He gave it to his son. And now Rav Huna said to Rabba, Bini, Simachta as Libi, you gladdened my heart. You made me happy that because I see that you have tahara, that I see that you're a taka holy person. The Casey Shinai, but you pluck my teeth because you obviously you love your son more than me, because you gave your son the date that you took from me. So it's interesting, this is the second time in one Amid that children are referred to as teeth. I don't know the significance of that, but that's just right. In the top of Amid, we had that the Risham, that the Bnei Risham say, why do you have to hack out their teeth on this world, referring to their own selves as they did early. Fine. This is what people say. Rachame de Abba Abnei, the Rachmanas of a father is on his sons. Rachame de Bnei Abnei de Havelei. And the Rachmanas of the son is on his sons. So the Rachmanas flows only one way. Everyone's worried about the next generation. But Yaakov, Etafel Bey Rav Yaakov Bar Barte, he raised his grandson from his daughter. Rav Acha raised his grandson from his daughter. He got when he got older. Amalei Ashkemayim, bring me a drink of water. The grandfather asked the grandson, bring me a drink of water. Amalei La Barach Ana. I am not your son. Now this is an Amayra. So he wasn't just giving him attitude, he was learning Torah. And he wasn't able to about the Torah because he didn't have the mitzvah kibbut avim. For a grandfather, you don't have mitzvah kibbut avim. I didn't go into it. It could be it's dafka because it's his mother's father. Because your father's father, you mechubah kibbut avim, out your father's kibbut avim. In other words, if your father's, it could be I made it up, but
the mother also is kibbut,
but not to the father, not the same way. A daughter does not have the kibbut avim when she's married. Mm-hmm. A daughter doesn't have kibbut avim the same way. So it could be that is the connection. I did not see like a halakha. I didn't go into it, but it's just an interesting connection why it's mentioned that it's his daughter's son, like daf. It could be it's daf. I don't know, but interesting. So he wasn't just being like a chutzpahnik little like 15-year-old kid doesn't want to get up. He was in the middle of learning and he couldn't stop because he didn't have a heter of kibbut. Rabbi, bar ta'anach. Raised me. Like in other words, no one has a problem getting taken care of as a kid. But when they get older, I'm not your son. Like who are you? I'm your grandson. This is the last Mishnah in Sotah. It's a little bit depressing, so let us try to get over the whatever. Yeah, I don't see. Yeah, the end in the Mishnayos, they end off with a brisa that's very geschmack, but the Gemara they don't do that. Okay, the problem was Aspasianus in the I don't know if it's the siege or the campaign when Aspasianus the general came to take over Yerushalayim. Gazu al I don't know it's whatever the whole is so Yerushalayim Ataris Chasanim al Ha'irus on the Irus, which we're going to see what that means in a second. The Pomus Shell Titus when Titus Russia was attacking us. Gazu al Ataris Kalis they took it a step further and they said even Ataris Kalis should be established as b'nai Yivanis. And you shouldn't teach your son Yivanis, which we're going to see exactly what that means also in the Gemara. Palmas ha'achrain, which Rashi explains, is also from Titus, but like Titus 2.0, he came out with a vengeance, and that was the one that was actually that's the one where he actually took over. That he took the that's where he attacked the Shalei Vesmigdash. Gazu al Shalei Teitzei Hakala b'Aparian b'Saychir. They shouldn't take her out in her whole canopy, but the Chacham did allow it. So in other words, they made a gzer, then they kind of like walked it back. The Shemeis of Meir, the Mishalem, the ability to give over Mishalem was taken. Shemeis ben Azai Batu Hashagdanim, the people who were like tremendously Masmidim, but Azai was one who couldn't get married because he said, I can only learn Torah, I can't be with a woman. And that level of intense and learning is gone. Mishemeis ben Zayin Batu Hadarshanim, the Darshanim, right? Everyone starts off the speech. I'm not about Darshan. It's the Mechan and Mishnah, the Farish Mishnah and the Zaita. Mishemeis Rabbi Kiva Batu Kavai Torah, this Indian that Rabbi Kiva was darshan every taga, right? It says that he did mountains of halachas on every taga, and every crown, every point in the letters. That's a special cover that Rabbi Kiva had. Mishmesh Chanina bar ben Daisa batu anche Maisa, Mishmesh Rabbi Yossi Katnasa Pascal Chasidim, Nikra Shemai Katnasa, She Katnasa Shel Chasidim. Why was he called Rabbi Katnasa? Because he was the smallest of the Chasidim, and he was the one. Once he died, it was over. Ziva Chachma. I think actually he's not even sure exactly what that means, which is ironic to say on Ziva Chachma. But this is a different Kvayat term than Rabbi Kiva said. This is what we said earlier, that people weren't able to stand and learn as much, and people sat more. Umesa Tahara or Precious, and this idea and Tahara and Precious were taken away in a way. Mishmesa Bishmal ben Pabi Batal Ziva Kahuna, that this Bishmal ben Pabi, I don't even know if he was a Kayan, there's much like that, and he just used Mechabet Kahuna a lot. He was Mechabet Kahana. So this Ziva Kahuna, this I guess glorification of Kahuna was gone. Mishmes Rebbe Batla Anava the year Chet, which is to say he didn't write, obviously, not because it's a chassan to write the year Anav, but because he wouldn't have written something before he died, after he died. Those written by Hamidim. So the Gemara, Tana Rabbana, Pinchas ben Yair Aimer, Shefara Besamidish Baishu, Chaveim Bnei Chayrin, the Chaveim Tamid Chacham and Bnei Chayrin, people born of high status. They were mizvayish. I'm not going to go with Mama yet. Right, you know, another whatever. We'll see how long we got. If not, whatever. We'll finish tomorrow. Somebody wants to join us. However, they cover the heads and embarrassment. V'nedadlu Anshe Maisa, and Anshe Maisa are also weakened, and are Dadlu is lashon made poor, so they're made poor. But Gavu Bale Ziraya or Bale Lashon, and the strong, physically strong, and people with loud mouths, Bale Lashon Hara, are the ones who are running the show. The Ein Darish, the Ein Mavakesh, Ein Shal. Nobody searches, nobody asks, and nobody inquires. This is referring to like the shlemus of Klal Yisrael. No one's davening for us in the same way. Amilan Elisha, who should we rely on? Avinu Shvashamayim. You only have to rely on Hakadosh Baruch Hu. V'lazer Agadol Aimer miyom shachar beis hamidrash shiru chakima kasafraya. The Chachamim became like the school teachers. The Safrai kechazanaya, and school teachers became like chazanim, like the shamasim in shul. The chazanim and the people in the shul, the shamasim became like amar. The amad ara and amay also the vidil became less and less. The ain't sure and Vakish don't even want to learn. They didn't want to know. It was Amaritza that has that asks questions. Chach forgets them at one point. Ami yeshli sham. Who should we rely on? Avinu Shabbat only on Hakadosh Baruch Hu. The Bikras Mashiach. Now our times is talking about chutzpah yiska. The chutzpah will be rampant. The yoker yamer, and then price will be very expensive. If you look at gasoline, Baruch Hashem will be in this part of the Mishnah. I mean, all prices now are a little bit out of control. Gafa and Tita Imperia, Yayin the yoker, and there'll be plenty of wine, there'll be plenty of grapes, and yet wine will be expensive because everyone's going to be drinking and involved in Hilalis. The Malchus Tehafech Leminus, and the Malchus is going to end up being a Malchus of Minus. The Ein Teichachas, and that's going to be the superpower, and there's going to be no Teichacha. You cannot rebuke them because they're so powerful. Which is, you see opposite trend today. Just a couple of weeks ago, President Trump, the most powerful man in the world, officially, called everyone to keep Shabbos. Now you have when communism came up, that was more in line with this Mishnah. Communism is anti any, right? It's completely atheistic idea, and that was the superpower at the time. So you see, Baruch Hashem, we're going in a little bit different. I guess we'll see closer to Mashiach how that. Stay tuned. Base Vad Yel is not the place where they used to give the shiurim has become a base business. They explain because they usually the Bat Midrashim were on the shuls were out on the outside of town. It's cheaper property maybe or whatever it was. But they were more on the outskirts of town. And now, once people stop learning, those houses stay vacant, and it allows for certain activities. Galo, Yechra the Gavlin Yisham, and these two places, Galil and Gavlin, are going to be destroyed. And the people who live on the border will wander and not have any resting and not be able to rest. The Chachma Seifim Tisrach and Tamid Chacham, the Chachma of learning will become destroyed. The Yirachet Yimasu, and people who are Yirachet will be disgusting. The MS Te Nederes, and MS will be, what's Nederes? What does Nederes mean? The MS
Just to find
somewhere there. And truth will be absent. In other words, we're not going to deal with MS anymore. The young ones are going to embarrass old people. The zakanim yamdu b'fnei ketanim, and the old people are going to stand up in front of the ketanim, in front of the younger generation. Ben Menava of father son is going to embarrass his father. Bas kama b'ima, a daughter is going to stand up against her mother. Kala b'chamaisa, and a daughter-in-law to her mother-in-law. Oive ish anshe. They said the people's worst enemies are going to be in his home. The face of a dog is going to be like the face of the generation like a dog. And I heard one shot that I saw was that when you if you see someone walking a dog, which I was actually do many times, they go, but they're always looking back a little bit. In other words, you're really running the show, but they're ahead of the game. They're running ahead physically, but the Metzias, you're in charge. And they always sometimes they check back and they need to see where you are. So if the Rabbanim who are running the generation are always looking back to see what the Am wants to do, and that's how they're fearing, that's Kifnei Kalab. Haben ena misabish me'av, a son's not going to be embarrassed from his father. Al ma'yesh lanu lisham who can rely on al v'nish shemayim. Zalti el gemara amarav leishanu ela shamelach v'gafis. This that we said that they stopped the crown. The chesanim, what's it called? Ataris chesanim. That's dafka of melach and gafris, but roses and myrtle and hadas mutter. V'shmul ama af shal hadas v'shalvered asar shal kanim v'shal chilas mutter. The certain reeds are mutter. The Levi ama af shal kina v'shal chilas asar. Everything is asar. Everything was asar after the first campaign. Even any type of crown for the chesanim was aser. It's a clap. It's a bell with one clapper. By his son's wedding, he made I think it's by his son's wedding. I just made it up, but I think that's what it is. He made hold on, because Rashi doesn't say that, but there's a few other Gemaras that I remember learning that have to do with Rabbi Rav Huna and his son's wedding. Okay, but either way, he made this tambourine. Asa Avud Tavrin. His father came and broke it. So Rav Huna came and broke Rabba's tambourine. Amalei Mechalaf B'Tavla B'Chad Puma. It's going to be mistaken for this clapper, this bell with one clapper that's Asa. So Avadle Apuma the Chatzo Oya Puma the Kviza. Go make him like a drum, spread it out, put a drum on top of a urn on top of a bucket or something. But B'Pamashar Titus Gazu Al Ataris Kal. It's my Ataris Kal. It's Amrabba Bavachana Amrav Ir Shalzav. It's a crown that a city was engraved on it, and now that's not the only type. Anything that's made out of gold is a crown, but that's the normal one was like they made out of the city. Tanami Hachi Izel Ataris Kales Ir Shalzav. We had a price that says the same thing. Avo Isa Kipa Shamelas, but you can make her out of like very fine wool. You can make her like a shtickle hat. Bana Af Al Chopes Chasanam Gazu. They were guys that also on Chopes Chasanam. My Chopes Chasanam. What is that? Zahiris Hamuz Haves. They had crimson cloth with gold etched in gold. Tanya Mihachi Elohein Chopes Chasanam Zahirim Hamuz Haves. crimson cloth with gold accents. Papyrus by But if you make it out of a different type of material, cheaper material, papyrus I think is I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's some cheaper material that is allowed. This is very interesting, Gemara, and we'll stop it after this. Why they stop? Why they make us to teach your son Yivan. It's not about there was a shtickle infighting with the Beis Chashmonai. So there's two brothers and they were fighting each other. Hyrcanus was outside and Aris Tibulus was inside. They would lower a basket full of gold coins and they would bring them up a shepsel for the carbon tamid. There was one guy on the inside that wanted to chip the whole thing up, and he was meramas with them in Chachmas Zivanis. He told them, as long as they're able to do the carbon time every single day, you're not going to be able to be you're not going to be Benatzeach, which could be a tremendous lesson for us. For myself, I need to keep a schedule every single day, even if I'm having a hard day, and that will be Benatzeach. The same thing, they lowered down the basket of money, and they gave them a pig or a pig, as Rebelli says, and they wrote up a pig instead of a sheep for the carbon time. Once it got halfway up the wall, not to Parno, it put its hoofs into the wall. The whole Eretz Yisrael shook. Now this Maisa points out is way before Churban Abayis. So why did it say only after Churban Abayis they stopped teaching Yavanis? Because they said it didn't really take it into effect. They didn't really like shaltzu to it. Once the Churban happened, then they took it on more seriously. Now, Eisha that was the year Shaninu. It's a Mishnah Menachos that I don't remember at all. Maisa uba Omer Megagos Trifim V'Shtei Alechem Mikas Ein Seicher. Usually they bring the Omer from barley that's very close to Yerushalayim, and also the wheat for the Shtei Alechem is also from close by. But over here it was a whole kriach to get it, and they had to go from very far away. In other words, why are you saying it's Asur Teach Yivanis? If we say it's not, I'm a Rebbe, but Eretz Yisrael Lashon Sursi Lam. Why should you speak Lashon Sursi in Yerushalayim in Eretz Yisrael? Ella e lashon kaidish, e lashon yivanis. You see, the lashon yivanis is not a problem to talk. Amar Yosef and Rav said, which is not consequential to what we're talking about, but we're just going to finish the memra. The Baba lashon arami lama. Don't talk in lashon arami. Ella e lashon kaidish, lashon parsi. Either the Persian lashon or lashon kaidish. Lashon yivanis l'chod. So that's the Gemara. The Gemara's question is: you said that you cannot teach lashon yivanis anymore, but Rebbe seems to say that it was okay. So the Gemara answers, Lashon Yivanis l'chod v'chachas Yivanis. Rebbe is talking about Lashon Yivanis, which is stand the Greek language. There's nothing wrong with that. But chachas Yivanis is what this zaken used to communicate, and it was used by the high society of the Yivanim. It wasn't just something that everybody knew. It was like what they used in the Illuminati meetings. I think I said that joke once. Okay, the chachas Yivanis mi as even is chachas Yivanis also. Is that Asr? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Mishum Rav Shimon ben Gamliel my dechsev Eini Ayla Lenafshim Kol B'Nais Iri. My eyes are disgusting from anyone else. Well, I notice I was saying that it's such a short life. Why? Because Elif Yuladim Hayu Beveis Abba. There was 1,000 children young men or young children in my father's house. Chamish Meis Lamdu Torah, v'Chamish Meis Lamdu Chachas Yivanis. 500 would learn Torah, and 500 would learn Chachas Yivanis. Le'nishtay mem ela ani kan uben achi abba b'asya. And it was just me and a cousin that survived. Ben achi abba, yeah, my cousin. Shani and the Gemara, Shani shabei Savim Gamliel, the Krayv and Machas Haba, they were very close to the king, so that's why they had to know Chachas Yivanis. That was a special had to. Tanya Misaper Kumi Hareza Medake Amari. If you have this weird hairstyle, I think it's a mullet. Basically, it's just like you let your hair grow long. It's a mullet with a shaved head. but it's also to do that, and it's Darkei Amari. Avtalis ben Ruvain hitiru l'sapar kaimi shirukar l'machas. This Avtalis ben Ruvain, he was allowed to do it. The Chacham allowed him to do it because he frequented in the Malchus, and I guess that was a style for them. Shabbat Rabbi Gamliel hitiru l'hem chachas yivanis mivnei shekarv in the Malchus. And the same thing that Rabbi Gamliel was able, based on Rabbi Gamliel, also was allowed to look chachas yivanis for the same reason. There's one more shtickle, but Palmas ha'achrein gazu shtalei tetzikal ba'apiraim. They did not want her to go out on the appearance, but then they rescinded that. My time, why did they rescind it? Mishum tzniusa, because it was more tznius for her to go out covered, and even though it was more festive, and therefore it was like a little pagam of the, it wasn't in line with the vibe of the times. There was a little bit of SARS going on, and she was going out in a festive little party chariot. But it was better that she was the tznuah. Okay, we're going to finish the last 5, 6 lines on Sunday by the CM Be'ezus Hashem. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, Mo. Still